Gustav Holst's first suite in E flat, and that was Frederick Fennell leading the Cleveland Symphonic Wind Ensemble. Thank you for being with us. This is the Green Room. Today, a really special guest, and it should be a fascinating discussion today about music in the military. I welcome Chief Brian Dorgan, who leads the 1st Infantry Army Division Band out of Fort Riley. In the green room with me today, the band is preparing for a couple of concerts here in Central Kansas. We'll talk about that, but also I'm so curious about life in the military as a career musician. Thank you so much, Chief Dorgan, for being here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get right to the concerts. Part of the mission of your groups, your performing ensembles, are to travel around and performing kind of as outreach, but also education, morale boosting, et cetera, et cetera. What do you have coming up in the next few weeks?
So, over the next few weeks, we have, thankfully, we're back this year. It's been a few years with COVID and deployment. So the band is back in the community, and we have a holiday concert series coming up. 4 performances. The first one is in Clay Center, Kansas, at the Rex Theater on 6th December at 7 p.m. And then we have our Junction City holiday concert series, which is at the CL Hoover Opera House, and that is 15 and 16 December at 7 p.m. And then the 17th will be a matinee at 2 p.m. So it's just an array of holiday music, and it'll feature all sorts of fun things for the family. It's free and open to the public, and we welcome everyone to come and get a taste of Army bands and just celebrate the holidays.
We're familiar with bands in the military, different branches of the armed forces. The United States Marine Band, of course, the President's Own. I mean, they have such an exposure on the national scale. But Army bands tell us about your mission. Is specifically you at Fort Riley, your groups, and you have more than one. You have a whole array of performing ensembles. Tell us a bit about what does a day in your life look like? What is your performing schedule like?
Sure. So, we are soldiers first. So we do what every other soldier does. We get up first thing in the morning. We go do PT at 6:30. We salute the flag. We sing the division song, and then our day to day is essentially rehearsal for the various engagements that we have. So we have anything from large scale community service for parades, things of that nature. We do a lot of ceremonies here with our marching band. Um, and then we have our smaller groups that perform it for social events, or like we have a rock band that also doubles as our jazz combo. So they perform at military balls and things of that nature. The rock band goes out and does, you know, uh, county fairs, whatever. I think we had more recently. We had them out at the Ozfest
Yeah.
in Wamego.
Yeah.
Um, so all sorts of engagements. The rock band is out there doing great things for like Fall Apple Days here at Fort Riley, which is a huge event. Um, when the whole community comes on, we had an array. We had a polka band, we had the rock band, we had our brass quintet. So we have an array of chamber ensembles, but then we all come together and we can form a full concert band. Sort of like I'm a child of the 80s and 90s, so I think of it. I'm a little too young to be Transformers if we're gonna go in the pop culture
Mhm.
end, but more Power Rangers, right? So you have like the smaller components that make up this one large component, and we can go out there and we can do all sorts of neat things.
Yeah.
That's very interchangeable.
And the
Um,
community can request an appearance.
yes, ma'am. Always. Yeah, we are always well. I wouldn't say we're always available. When we're available, yeah, we can do all sorts of things. Like you said it earlier. Educational outreach, um, festivals, parades, anything you can think of, we can probably support. Pending that we're not doing anything official on the military side, schedule allowing.
Soldiers first. And you mentioned at the beginning of the interview deployment. Can you talk to us a bit about when your group, members of your group, are deployed? Are you ever overseas together as a group of musicians performing outside of the United States?
Absolutely. So what? Yeah, yes, ma'am. When we deploy, we support the same way we would here, except we're maybe a slightly more austere environment. Um, but we do the same things that we do here in the United States. Go to festivals, we perform concerts uh, for our allies. We support our troops, right? But we also support
Right.
our allies, which is a huge thing right now.
As
Um,
morale, like a morale
Absolutely.
booster
Yep.
and
100%.
a gesture of, camaraderie and support.
Music, yeah, as I'm sure you know, music speaks all languages, all cultures. It is a very good first step in generating goodwill, And so,
Oh, yeah.
when I deployed, I went to Iraq in 2017, and we did all sorts of things over there at the embassy for other foreign leaders, and then also, again, first and foremost, performing for the troops on the various camps and bases, especially during the holidays. It's super important for us
Yeah.
to be out there. And last year, I wasn't the commander last year, but I know they were out there doing the thing, performing in extremely cold environments, and just bringing holiday cheer and goodwill, for everyone. So,
Hmm. Such a huge role music plays in the military and something that's not often for top of mind awareness even.
mhm.
Like I said, we obviously know that the band plays when the president shows up, but so many people aren't aware of just how important a role music does play um in the military. And you're a band filled with essentially professional musicians, not only those who perform, but also compose, arrange. You sent me just this morning an arrangement of a Christmas carol that one of your musicians arranged for your ensemble. Could you tell us who arranged this particular carol? This is the Sussex Carol.
Yep. So, First Infantry Division Band's very own Sergeant Donald McEwen. He's an excellent, excellent trumpet player, but also a arranger, writer. He did this setting for this carol, and a couple other things in the concert. We have a rock band performing with horns in the style of, say, Chicago, and so he transcribed some horn part, or wrote out some horn parts for that, and so we have and that's just one person amongst 30 extremely talented musicians that the Army gives us the opportunity to use all of our talents. Not just, I was hired as a trombone player, but I also arrange and I do this and that. And so being in the Army has been great to explore those other avenues of music that we don't necessarily, during, if I had a day job of just playing trombone, I wouldn't necessarily be able to do.
Yeah.
Uh, so
We'll get into that. But
sure.
first, I do want to listen to this. This is the Sussex Carol, and this is one of the pieces that people will hear when they go to one of your concerts, correct?
That's correct.
All
This
right,
is
we're gonna
happening.
listen to we're gonna listen to it, and I'll be back to talk more with Chief Brian Dorgan from the 1st Infantry Division Band out of Fort Riley. That was the Sussex Carol performed by the 1st Infantry Division Band. And I have their conductor, their leader, Chief Brian Dorgan, with me in the green room talking about life as a career military musician. So, anybody who is a musician has probably seen notices posted online on a bulletin board when you're in college. The Army has open positions for a trumpet player. The Army chorus or the Navy chorus is hiring a soprano and two basses. So somebody sees that and they think, well, what exactly? What do you mean? I'm going to be I'm going to be a musician, but I'm also suddenly I have to be in the military. Would you just your experience, your own personal experience, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about what led you to the decision to audition?
Well, if I'm being totally honest, bills.
We
So,
like
you know,
honest here.
yeah,
Yes.
listen,
Yeah.
being a musician is hard,
Yes,
you
yes.
know?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
it's hard to make it, and, you know, I had completed grad school. I went to University of Massachusetts Amherst, go Minutemen, and, I did my bachelor's and my master's there, and, you know, it was getting ready to start. I gotta you know, pay insurance and things like that. I was taking auditions for orchestras, and, I wasn't making it, and it wouldn't be long before, you know, my
Mm.
slightly higher than minimum wage job was gonna carry, you know, carry my health insurance, pay for any sort of benefits, and keep me working as a musician. Um, and I had a few friends that had joined already, and they called me and said, "Hey, you know, you'd really be good at this army thing, and plus they'll pay back your student loans," which they have brought that program back since then. I joined in 2009, um, and so I enlisted for 3 years, and within 2 years I loved it, and I knew I wanted to make it a career, because I was playing my instrument. I was doing what I loved. I was arranging. I was exploring all these new avenues that I didn't have time to explore. And the Army gave me that opportunity to really, you know, like I said, explore those things. And I was just, you know, serving your country. You know, that's also an awesome thing too. So there's a lot of mutual benefit there,
There's a
and
lot of
I felt
pride there.
absolutely, and there's a lot of meaning through service. You know, and as an Army band, you know, army bands, we serve those who serve, you know, and so we get that kind of extra layer of pride in service, and we get to communicate that to the public, and so yeah,
Especially,
I love it. I think it's great.
I love this. Now, my next question is about just how long somebody on average would stay a member of one of these groups. Is it like any other job where at any point in time you can be like, not for me? I mean, it typically is somebody putting in 5, 10 years. And then, like you said, you have people who will retire
Sure.
being a
I mean,
military musician.
yep. Life happens, right? So, I've been lucky to. I'm in my 14th year now. Started as an enlisted trombone player, and then I went changed to warrant officer in 2019 to be a conductor and commander. And some people, you know, they love it, and they serve you know, they'll do their 20 years and they'll get out, or they'll do well beyond 20 if they can do it. And some folks they join, and it's not you know, may not necessarily be for them, and they only serve, you know, their first contract, or so it's a variety. But I'd say the vast majority of people that I've served with in my career, they've made it a career, because it is hard to get a good paying job with benefits as a musician, and the Army definitely provides that opportunity, which is great. You know, amidst the slew of other of the 100+ careers that the Army even offers, you know, just band is just one of them. A musician is one of them. So,
Yes, hundreds upon thousands of ways to serve.
mhm.
And that brings me to my next question. This might seem like a silly one, but if I'm wondering it, somebody else out there has to be wondering it as well. Would you ever be put into combat? I mean, worst case scenario, you're members of the military, like you said, you're soldiers first. You
Mhm.
went through basic training. I imagine you have to pass physical exams, every year to
Mhm.
make sure you're, in the best of health.
Sure.
Are there scenarios where they would say, okay, you got to put down your instrument now?
There's always could be a scenario, but I would say, given how good our Army is, it is unlikely.
Ah,
If
are
that
you?
makes any sense. What I'm saying is the Army is pretty
No, I get
awesome,
what you're saying.
and that
I
is
get
very
I get what
unlikely
you're
to
saying.
happen. Yeah, so
No, yes. We're gonna
but we
ask
could
the
do it. I tell
musicians
you what,
last.
yeah, I'll tell you what, we you know, there's the stereotype for musicians, but, I'd put my band up against, you know, into like a competition, a shooting competition or a PT competition. We've got some fit, uh, well thought out, fighting soldiers. If they need to do it, they can do it. I have no doubt in their abilities.
And if for nothing else, I'm sure you just trust them with your life, what I know about
Oh, of
all of my
course.
musician friends.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%.
This this is just so fascinating. So we have to wrap up here, but would you remind us again where you are performing and when?
Sure. So we'll be in Clay Center, Kansas, at the Rex Theater, 6th December at 7 p.m. And that's a Wednesday, I believe. And then in Junction City at the C.L. Hoover Opera House, 16 December at 7 p.m. and 17 December at 2 p.m. Again, everything's free, open to the public. Let's all come together and have some fun before the new year.
Chief Brian Dorgan from the 1st Infantry Division Band out of Fort Riley, Kansas. Thank you so very much for making contact with us here at the station. And, please, you have an open invitation to always come talk about this. I think it's fascinating. I think it's important that people know about the work you're doing. And of course, we always want to know when you're in the area performing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.